Well, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development recently published a new economic survey focusing on South Africa and the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. Unsurprisingly, the group noted that the pandemic and ensuing lockdown have triggered a sharp drop in activity. The report noted that the 2020 recession follows almost a decade of modest growth. Persistent electricity shortages, rising government debt, and policy uncertainty will continue to hold back investment and underscore low growth. It says the economy is set to recover only progressively from the coronavirus recession as sectors reopen. The OECD added that a recovery could differ widely depending on whether a second coronavirus wave presents itself later in the year. Well, I'm being joined by a senior analyst, Sub-Saharan Africa Research at Docker Frontier, London, Matt Kindiger. Hello, Matt. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Thank you for having me on the show today.
So, given the impact of the economy of the first wave of coronavirus, how would a severe second wave change South Africa's growth outlook in 2020 and, of course, 2021?
Right, yes, so quite severely, in fact. So it's worth mentioning that under our current view for the economy, whereby we don't see a second wave, so if we assume there is no second wave for the economy, we would expect the economy to contract by 6 or 7% this year, so quite a deep recession, with a bit of a stabilization in early 2021. And even under this more optimistic scenario, we wouldn't expect the economy to return to its 2019 levels until 2023. So in the event of a second wave of coronavirus, which results in stricter lockdowns and weaker global economic growth, we could see the economy fall into a recession of about 10 to 15% in 2020 and continue to contract into 2021. And so this would be quite severe, and it would mean that the economy wouldn't return to its pre-pandemic levels until about 2024 or 2025, but quite a significant impact.
And last week, the IMF agreed to lend South Africa about $4.4 billion, the largest loan issued to an African government since the beginning of this coronavirus pandemic. How significant is this, and how will it affect the government's ability to provide additional support to the economy?
Yes, so this is certainly a very significant development, both in terms of the size of the loan from the IMF, but also because this is the first time that the ANC government has sought support from the IMF since coming to power in 1994. So broadly, in the short term, it's very positive because this will mean that the IMF loan will help to fund some of the government's stimulus package that was detailed in the June supplementary budget, and this includes things like support for local businesses, higher unemployment benefits, social and welfare spending, as well as more funding for the health sector to combat the coronavirus pandemic. So broadly very positive. But looking ahead, the IMF hasn't really attached significant conditions to the loan. They've been quite light in the conditions, and this means that despite encouragement from the IMF, this means that the South African government is unlikely to accelerate the pace of much-needed structural economic reform over the coming months in the economy.
Yeah, and the finance minister is due to give a midterm budget statement in October. Now, given the weak state of government finances, what can businesses expect over the coming months?
Yes, so definitely. Even though the country has received an IMF loan, government finances do remain weak, and we are expecting the midterm budget statement in October to reveal continued weakness in government finances. We will see more plans about what the government wants to do to stabilize its fiscal deficit and debt levels as well. What we are expecting is a bit of a fiscal deterioration, and this increases the risk of South Africa being further downgraded by credit rating agencies. This would result in weaker market sentiment, international investment in South Africa, and this could drive rand volatility. So businesses really should expect greater exchange rate instability in South Africa over the coming months. Another thing worth mentioning is that businesses will have to contend with continued rolling blackouts, known as load shedding in South Africa, for the foreseeable future. These resumed in July and will continue for quite a while as Eskom tries to deal with the maintenance backlog and increased demand. And this will have quite significant impacts on many companies in the private sector, especially B2B, such as companies in the manufacturing sector.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Matt. Matt Kiniger is a
Thank you.
senior analyst, Sub-Saharan Africa at Docker Frontier, London.